Picture this. Your government telling you what movies you're allowed to watch. Sounds dystopian, right? Well, welcome to the 1980s. This was the decade of video nasties, government raids on video stores, and moral panic that had politicians claiming horror films could literally harm your pet dog. From underground German shockers that caused international incidents to mainstream Hollywood films that sparked national firestorms, these movies were deemed too dangerous for public consumption. The twist? You can stream most of them tonight. 1. Silent Night, Deadly Night, 1984. What happens when you make Santa Claus the killer? Absolute chaos, apparently. This slasher was destined for the censors from the start due to its shocking depiction of a killer dressed as Saint Nick. The controversy wasn't just about the violence. It was about corrupting the sacred image of Christmas itself. Religious groups and parent organizations went ballistic, protesting outside theaters nationwide. The film was literally pulled from theaters after just 1 week due to public outrage. Critics like Siskel and Ebert dedicated entire segments to condemning it, with Ebert reading the names of the film's crew on air, shaming them for making something so despicable. What made it especially controversial was its marketing campaign showing the killer Santa on movie posters that kids could see. The backlash was so intense that the film became more famous for being banned than for its actual content. Today, it's considered a Christmas horror classic, proving that sometimes the moral guardians are just party poopers who can't handle a little holiday mayhem. 2nd, Ms. 45, 1981. Abel Ferrara's rape revenge thriller was immediately branded as misogynistic exploitation, but it's actually one of the most feminist films of the 80s. The story follows a mute seamstress who transforms into a vigilante after being sexually assaulted twice in one day. What censors couldn't handle was a woman taking violent revenge into her own hands. The film was banned in several countries and heavily censored in others for its graphic violence and sexual themes. Critics were split between those who saw it as empowerment and those who viewed it as exploitative trash. What made censors particularly nervous was how the film made audiences root for the female protagonist as she methodically hunts down men. The movie's transformation of a vulnerable victim into a powerful predator challenged traditional gender roles in ways that made conservative groups deeply uncomfortable. Unlike other video nasties, this one had serious artistic merit and social commentary, but that didn't stop authorities from trying to bury it. Today, it's recognized as a pioneering work of feminist genre cinema. 3rd, Possession, 1981. Andrzej Żuławski's psychological horror film about a divorce gone supernatural was too weird and violent for most audiences to handle. Following a limited theatrical run in the United Kingdom, Possession was labeled as a distasteful video nasty and banned over its violent content for a decade. The film features Isabelle Adjani's legendary performance where she literally writhes around a subway tunnel, giving birth to something demonic. The movie was butchered in different countries, with some versions losing up to 40 minutes of footage. One version notoriously cut out an astonishing 40 minutes, rearranging scenes and adding optical effects that turned an already challenging movie into something all but impossible to understand. What drove censors mad wasn't just the gore, it was the film's uncompromising vision of psychological breakdown and marital horror. The movie treats divorce as literally apocalyptic, with tentacled monsters representing the death of love. Adjani won Best Actress at Cannes for a performance so intense it reportedly took her years to recover from. It was ultimately released uncut on home video in the country in 1999. This is art house horror at its most unhinged. Drrome, 1883. David Cronenberg's media satire about television's corrupting influence was deemed too disturbing and prophetic for comfort. The film follows a cable TV programmer who discovers a broadcast signal featuring extreme violence and torture, only to find it's changing his body and mind. Censors were freaked out by its graphic body horror and its prescient warnings about media manipulation. The movie was banned in several countries and heavily cut in others, particularly for its scenes of James Woods literally inserting videotapes into a vaginal opening in his stomach. What made authorities nervous wasn't just the gore, it was how accurately Cronenberg predicted our media-obsessed future. The film's exploration of technology, violence, and control hit too close to home for censorship boards already panicking about video nasties. Religious groups condemned it for blasphemy. Politicians worried it would inspire copycat violence, and critics were split between calling it genius and garbage. The irony is that Videodrome's warnings about media control came true exactly as Cronenberg predicted. Today, in our social media age, the film feels less like science fiction and more like documentary. 5. Nightmares in a Damaged Brain, 1981. This slasher about a mental patient who escapes and goes on a killing spree was pure exploitation gold. The film was immediately added to the UK's Video Nasty list for its extreme violence and disturbing psychological content. What set it apart from other slashers was its unflinching depiction of mental illness and childhood trauma. The movie was prosecuted under obscenity laws and banned in multiple countries. Video store owners faced legal action for stocking it, and copies were literally seized by police during raids. What made censors lose their minds was the film's realistic approach to depicting psychosis and its graphic kill sequences. The movie doesn't glamorize its killer. It presents him as genuinely disturbed and dangerous. Critics condemned it as irresponsible for its portrayal of mental health, while others argued it was more honest about violence than mainstream Hollywood films. The controversy made it legendary among horror fans, who sought out bootleg copies like Forbidden Treasure. Today, it's available uncut and remains a genuinely unsettling experience. 6. The Burning, 1981. Tom Savini's gore effects masterpiece was supposed to cash in on the Friday the 13th craze, but it ended up causing its own moral panic. The Burning found itself at the center of some controversy in the early 1980s, when the uncut version of the film was released on videotape by the British video label Thorn EMI. The company was supposed to release the slightly trimmed version passed by the British Board of Film Classification. The distributor accidentally released the uncut version, leading to legal chaos. The tapes were impounded under the Obscene Publications Act, and The Burning was added to the Video Nasties list. The controversy centered around Savini's incredibly realistic gore effects, particularly the infamous Raft Massacre scene, where multiple teenagers are slaughtered simultaneously. The two major scenes of contention were Cropsy's frantic mass murder spree in the Raft Massacre sequence, and the sight of a pair of scissors piercing a woman's flesh in the post-title sequence. What made this different from other slashers was the sheer technical brilliance of the effects work. By 2001, the censor board was ready to pass the uncut version. Today, it's praised as one of the best slashers of the early 80s. 7. Maniac, 1980. While technically a 1980 release, this William Lustig shocker dominated banned lists throughout the early 80s and defined the era's moral panic. Joe Spinell's performance as a psychotic killer who scalps women was too realistic and disturbing for most censors to handle. The film was banned in multiple countries and faced prosecution in the UK as a video nasty. What separated Maniac from other slashers was its gritty New York setting and unflinching brutality. The movie doesn't give you traditional horror movie scares. It presents genuine urban nightmare fuel. Critics and censors were particularly disturbed by the film's point-of-view shots that put audiences in the killer's perspective. The infamous shotgun to the head scene became legendary for its Tom Savini effects work. Religious groups condemned it as promoting violence against women, while others argued it was a raw depiction of mental illness. The controversy only made it more sought after among horror fans. The 2012 remake with Elijah Wood proved the original's lasting impact, but nothing matches the seedy authenticity of Spinell's performance. 8. The House by the Cemetery, 1981. Lucio Fulci's supernatural gore fest was peak Italian horror excess that drove censors absolutely mental. The film follows a family who moves into a house with a deadly history, unleashing both zombies and ancient evil. What made this particularly controversial was Fulci's trademark combination of stunning visuals and extreme violence. The movie was immediately banned in multiple countries for its graphic content, including a notorious scene involving a bat attack and various creative murder sequences. British censors added it to the Video Nasty list, and it remained unavailable for years. What drove authorities crazy wasn't just the gore, It was how Fulci made violence beautiful through his cinematography and music. The film's dreamlike atmosphere, combined with shocking brutality, created something uniquely disturbing. Critics were divided between those who saw artistic merit and others who dismissed it as mindless splatter. Italian horror fans consider it essential Fulci, showcasing his ability to blend surreal storytelling with visceral horror. Today, it's available in restored versions that highlight Fulci's visual mastery. Ninth, Necromantic, 1987. Jörg Buttgereit's German underground shocker about a couple's love affair with corpses was literally designed to break every taboo possible. The film initially faced no significant reprisals. It was only the scandal over the sequel, Necromantic 2, 1991, which caused the German authorities to temporarily ban sales by mail order of the original film. What started as a punk rebellion against German censorship became one of the most notorious films ever made. The film is currently banned outright in Iceland, Malaysia, Singapore, and the provinces of Nova Scotia and Ontario in Canada. The plot follows Rob, who works cleaning up accident scenes and brings home body parts for his girlfriend Betty. When he brings home a full decomposing corpse, things get even more disturbing. In 2014, the British Board of Film Classification passed the film uncut with an 18 certificate. What made this so controversial wasn't just the necrophilia. It was how Buttgereit presented it as a twisted love story. John Waters proclaimed Necromantic the first ever erotic film for necrophiliacs. Despite its shocking content, critics praised its artistic merit and dark humor. The film spawned a sequel and established Buttgereit as underground cinema royalty. 10. The Last Temptation of Christ, 1988. Martin Scorsese's religious epic caused one of the biggest controversies of the decade, proving that mainstream Hollywood wasn't immune to banning. Numerous cities across the United States managed to enact bans on the movie, despite the studio firmly asserting its First Amendment rights. The film, depiction of Jesus experiencing human desires and temptations, sent religious groups into an absolute frenzy. What made this different from typical banned films was that it came from a major studio with A-list talent. Christian groups organized massive protests, threatened boycotts, and some theaters received bomb threats. The controversy wasn't about gore or sex. It was about challenging religious orthodoxy through cinema. Scorsese received death threats, and the film's distribution was severely limited due to exhibitor fears. What religious critics couldn't handle was the idea of a humanized Jesus who experiences doubt and temptation. The film was actually based on Nikos Kazantzakis' respected novel, but that didn't matter to protesters. Today, it's regarded as one of Scorsese's masterpieces and a profound meditation on faith and sacrifice. The controversy proved that artistic freedom was still a battleground in America. 11. Blue Velvet, 1986. David Lynch's suburban nightmare divided critics and audiences like few films before or since. The movie was banned by the New Brunswick Film Classification Board in Canada in the province, according to the Grid City magazine, a local magazine in the region, and a 1987 report in the Vancouver Sun. Dennis Hopper's portrayal of Frank Booth created one of cinema's most terrifying villains. The ban was primarily based on a scene in the film depicting sexual violence as being pleasant to the victim, according to the film commissioner at the time, Ted Bringlow. The film's exploration of sadomasochism and sexual violence in suburban America was too much for many censors. Although it initially gained a relatively small theatrical audience in North America and was met with controversy over its artistic merit, Blue Velvet soon became the center of a national firestorm in 1986. Critics were split between calling it a masterpiece and denouncing it as pornographic trash. Isabella Rossellini's agents even dropped her after the film's release because they were horrified by her performance. What made this so controversial was Lynch's refusal to condemn or explain the violence. He simply presented it as part of American reality. Over time, became regarded as an American classic. 12th, Driller Killer, 1979. Abel Ferrara's debut feature about a struggling artist who kills homeless people with a power drill became the poster child for video nasty hysteria. According to Mike Bohr, the principal examiner at the British Board of Film Classification, The Driller Killer was almost single-handedly responsible for the Video Recordings Act, 1984, under which it and the other video nasties were banned in the UK. The controversy wasn't even about the film itself, it was about the cover art. According to Brad Stevens, author of a biography on Abel Ferrara, the banning of the film was almost entirely due to the cover of the video. The VHS cover showed a drill boring through someone's forehead, causing public outrage before people even saw the movie. In 1982, Vipco, who held the film's UK video distribution rights, took out full-page advertisements in a number of film magazines that featured the graphic cover art of the VHS release, which depicted one of the Driller Killer's victims being drilled through the forehead. The film itself is more of a character study of urban decay and artistic frustration than a pure slasher. The film was not officially released uncut in the UK until 2002. Today, critics recognize it as an early example of Ferrara's talent for gritty urban storytelling. 13. I Spit on Your Grave, 1978. This rape revenge exploitation film continued causing controversy throughout the early 80s, with the film receiving a limited release, with a wider release in 1980. While it premiered in 1978, the video nasty panic made it one of the most prosecuted films of the early 80s. Many nations, such as Ireland, Norway, Iceland, and West Germany, banned the film altogether, claiming that it glorified violence against women. The film was named in 2010 one of Time's top 10 ridiculously violent movies. What made this so controversial was its extended rape sequence followed by the victim's methodical revenge. Canada initially banned the film, but in the 1990s decided to allow its individual provinces to decide whether to permit its release. Roger Ebert called it sick, reprehensible, and contemptible, while others argued it was a feminist statement about taking power back. The film sparked debates that continue today about exploitation versus empowerment. Since 1998, some provinces, such as Manitoba, Nova Scotia, and Quebec, have released the film with a rating that reflects its content. The controversy ensured its cult status among horror fans seeking forbidden cinema. 14. The Evil Dead, 1981. Sam Raimi's Cabin in the Woods masterpiece became the crown jewel of the video nasty collection. When the Video Recordings Act was passed in 1984, the video version was banned. What made this particularly absurd was that the film was essentially a campy horror comedy, but authorities took it deadly seriously. Mary Whitehouse declared it the #1 video nasty, and MP Graham Bright claimed it was so dangerous it could harm not only you and your children, but also your pet dog. Yes, they actually believed a horror movie could psychologically damage household pets. An anti-media organization campaign led to the film being branded a video nasty. The film was banned in multiple countries including Finland, Ukraine, and Singapore. In 1990, an additional 66 seconds were cut from the already censored version, earning the film an 18 certificate for home video release. What drove censors mad was Raimi's graphic violence combined with dark humor. The infamous tree rape scene particularly upset religious groups. Finally, in 2000, the uncut version received an 18 certificate for both cinema and home video. Today, it's universally regarded as a horror classic. 15. Cannibal Holocaust, 1980. Ruggero Deodato's found footage nightmare remained the king of banned cinema throughout the entire 80s decade. Shot found footage style, the movie tells the story of a group of documentary filmmakers that have gone missing in the Amazon rainforest. What made this the ultimate banned film was that authorities literally thought they were watching real murders. Upon the film's release, the director was actually brought up on charges of obscenity, as many thought it was a real snuff film. Deodato had to bring the actors to court to prove they were still alive. The film's use of real animal deaths made it even more controversial, with the film has also been condemned by many animal rights groups, including PETA. The movie was banned in dozens of countries and became the poster child for extreme cinema. What separated this from other banned films was its serious artistic ambitions. It's actually a savage critique of media exploitation and colonialism. The film essentially invented the found footage genre that would later spawn the Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity. Due to its graphic depictions of animal slayings that take place on screen, which are real, The film has also been condemned by many animal rights groups. Today, it's available in most countries, but remains one of the most controversial films ever made. From government raids to moral panics, these films survived the censorship wars and emerged as cult classics you can now stream at home. Which of these banned 80s movies shocked you the most? And do you think the censors were protecting society or just being overly paranoid? More importantly, in our current age of social media, outrage and cancel culture, are we heading toward another era of film censorship? Or have we finally learned that art should be free to challenge and disturb us? Let me know in the comments which of these forbidden films you're brave enough to watch tonight.